Okay, we were talking about object-oriented programming, and we are coming to the final of it. And we have created classes and objects and methods. So today we'll talk about class methods. So far we have seen only about the instance method or the object methods. So and a method like this, and I've told you that methods are just functions that are attached to object or a class. So this method now can only be accessed by the instance or the object only. Only if there is someone who is unmuted, just mute. Kama mtu akiongea, just mute. Okay. This now is a method that belongs to the instance, meaning object that you have created can access. So like here we are having, we can say, if we say like print student one dot, and we access the method like it was display self. So it was display self like that. So you see that this object, that is student one, is accessing display self method. So by that you will see what it will return the name, the current object, which is student one name is Abdi. You will see that it will return that object's name. Like you see, it's returning Abdi. Put together. Now, but if we say, let's say, we are having this class, which is student. So if we say this student will access that method, let's see. So we will say student, which is the class, dot display self, and let's see what will happen. So if I run, you will see you will get into an error. So you see what? Let me minimize this one so that it doesn't confuse you. Okay. Now you see student.display self missing one required positional argument. So this means what? That the class
Guys,
yes.
Mentor,
Yes.
someone is requesting to change the theme.
The theme. Say this one's in online still. So to quick
See,
99.
see,
So everyone's anatumia it's on laptop. Ama?
see,
So
I don't know. I'm at the font.
eh?
Karibisha the font.
To
Font. Ebu rudisha hiyo theme ilikuwa.
hii white sahii unajua tu katutumii project everyone akona laptop yake naishangaa. Even the dark mode ndo kwa poa.
So labda the change the font. Karibisha tu.
Sahii iko sawa?
Yeah.
Okay. The problem with this is like we will not see everything. We have to scroll every time. Okay, no problem. Now you see that I have said the class, which is the student dot display self, and we are seeing what? An error. Student that is missing one required positional argument self. So you see that it was expecting a self. The method was expecting what? A self argument, meaning an object. So these methods can only be accessed by the object or the instance. So today we learn about what we call class methods. Class methods are just methods that a class can access, and even the class method, as you will see, even the object can access. But this is a way that a class can access a method. So let's now see how we can create. So let me remove this one so that we will not see that error every time we run the course. Now we'll start by creating the class method. So let's see how we can create a class method. Remember that a class method will be attached to the class. Like this class, which is a student, want to have a method like a function, so that you say student dot that method. So let's see how we can create a class method. So you can create a class method first. You have to indent, meaning it should be inside the the class like the rest of the method. How do you know that this method is a class method? So you have to start with what? A decorator called class method. So this is a default decorator called class method that is provided by Python. So immediately you see this decorator. Decorator we said is a function that adds an extra behavior to a function. Meaning immediately we place this decorator above a function. It will know that this function belongs and can be accessed by a class. Also it can be accessed by the instances. So let's see. Now let's create the function, the normal method. So we can say, let's say we want to update this name. Remember this, we have said that this is what? A class attribute. And we have seen that it can be accessed by both the class and the object. See how they relate. The class attribute can be accessed by the class and also the object. Also the class method is like that. It can be accessed by the class and also by the object. So let's see. Let's say I want to update this attribute, class attribute, university, which was belonging to the whole class, object and the class. So I want to create a method that can update what? This class attribute. So I can say def update university. I can say update university or change university, whatever you want. Now look, now for the methods like which was belonging to the objects only, we were having what? A parameter self. We have seen what self represents. Self we said is the current object. So every now like this, it contains self, this method contains self, all these methods contain self. So we knew that when the self parameter was replaced by what? The current object every time. But now look, inside the class method now, the parameter will be class, like just like the self. So CLS in America to class, meaning when we access this method, we say student.update university. So class is just a parameter. It will change to what? Student. So we'll say now, let's say, then add another parameter. Let's say new university. Can say new university. And then close it. And then enter the body function. Now this function is a class method. It takes what? Class as the first argument, and also the second argument is the new university name, meaning the name that we want to change from this university. So we can say what? Now we can say because we want to change this. So for this student class to access this university, and we can get this value or this we can access this variable, we can say what? The class dot university. So we will say what? We can say class, the current class, which is the student, dot university will be equal to what? The new university. Like this, the new university. Meaning that every time the class, which is the student, will call this method, which is the class method, class will change to what? Student. The class student. And then new university is just a parameter that we will pass to this function. When we are calling this function, we have to pass what? New name. So this new university will become what? The name. Like if you pass Mayor University or MK University, it will be like that. Then this means what? The class, meaning the current class, which is the student. So it equals student dot university. Manage to access this variable or this attribute. Now, before it was Garissa University. Now we are saying what is equal to the new university. We will pass. Now we can just say for us to see, let's say we can say print, or we can just say print university name. We can just say print and then we format university name, or the university updated to the new name or the new university, like that. So here we're just printing for even if you want to see what the class entails, you can just say also print, and then you can say format class, you can say is, and then we access what the CLS. This one is just for you to see CLS tunaweka pa, which means the class it contains what, because it's just a parameter, it will be replaced. So to avoid these multiple prints, because we also will print, we can just say what, we can remove this print and we can say just return. We can use just return and then we use the format, simple like that. So look now, this is what class method that the class student can access, and it's doing what? It's updating this class attribute, which is now Garissa University. So now for us to access, we can do what? For us to see what's happening inside here, we can do what? Now we can say print. We can just say print, and then we can say students, which is the class dot, and then we say the method was what? The method was update university. So we can say update university. So the method was, this method was having what? This method was having two parameters. So this initial you don't have to pass. It's just like what? The self. It's like the self, meaning right now I'm calling the method, I'm saying student update university. So this is student class, immediately it calls this update university. This CLS of the class will be what? Will be student. So this one is passed automatically. You don't have to pass an argument. So what you have to pass is this one. Right now, new university, which is a parameter. Now you have to do what? You have to pass a read argument that can override that one. So you can say Meru University, like that. So immediately now look at the process, just the normal understanding. If you have understood the functions, this one will be simpler. So students, which is the class dot update university, then call update university method. So it will check if the method haina class method first, it will do what? It will show the error, this one, missing one required, like that. But right now we are having what at the class method decorator. This one is just to tell that this method can belong what, or can be accessed by the class. This is a class method, meaning this belongs to the class. So look at it now. And now the function, after we have passed update the value that we have passed ilikuwa nini? Meru University. So CLS will be what? Will be student. Then new university will be what? New university now will become Meru University. CLS was student, so the parameter was replaced by student. So student class dot university, meaning this class, which is the student dot university. So initially it was what? Garissa University, but here you are saying what? It's equal to new university, and new university was what? Meru University. So here you see this one, it will just show you it's just for you. I want you to show you so that you can see this CLS what it contains, or the class. So here we are just saying return university updated to new university, and new university was what? Was Meru University. So let's see the output if it matches whatever. So you see, first now the output, this is the first line. So remember, it's coming from all of this. So student.update university. So it will call what? After it has called this update university, first print, it's saying what? You look now, you see CLS, class. Let's say class. So you see class, let's run again. So you see class is what? Class main.student, meaning the current file. This is not script. So it means the current file dot student, meaning the CLS say tunaona it's what? Student. So CLS every time it's called, the function will be student. So then after that you see what? Return name. So you see university updated to what? To Meru University. So if you want to look still, you can just say what? After update, look, you can say print student dot, it was university. So you can say student dot university, and you see, and let's look what it entails. So you see, student, after we have printed student dot university, you see what? Their university. So it means that you say this class is student dot university. So university was holding what? Garissa University. But at the print you are seeing what? Mary University. Why? Because you have already updated using this class method. So that is what? An example of a class method. So the class can access. So let's now do another example. So let's say we want to count all the object, or right now the object are the students. So let's say we want to count all the students that are inside this class also. And also we want to like get and all the list. We want to look through all the students and get their list. So we can create different method for that. So let's say now, let's start with this. So we can say, let's group all the students in a list. So this is just what we have learned. So we will just, it's just accumulating. So list we have learned already. So let's now organize all the students in an empty list. Remember, what I want to do is, I want to add like, I want to count how many objects are in this class. So for me to do that, I need class methods, because what now the class is only what it's not what the class can know what its object, like it's a parent and a children. So what we will know the number of instances or the object by using what? The class. So here we are having now all the students, we have grouped what into an empty class. Again, we can create, remember the main goal that you want to do right now is just to track how many objects, or so far, and our object is what? Our objects are the students which are inside this class, the actual students. So our object currently are these ones, student 1 and student 2. So you see, so far we have what? Only 2 objects. So we want, since the objects are controlled by the class, we want to track how many students are in this class. So we have created a empty list that first will hold all the students in an empty list, and then we can create another variable that can hold the total students. So let's say the total students are 0 so far, because it will always start from 0. So we can say now the total students are 0. So we leave those variables at the top. So next we'll come now to create the class method that will do all of this. So for us now to have the list of all the objects inside this list, first we have to register them or add them to this what? To this list. So we need to add every time we are initializing the attributes of the object, or we are creating the object. Every time we create an object, we want to do what? Every time we create an object, we want to append to this list. Again, another object is created, student 2. We want to do what? We want to append to this list. Every time we want to append to this list. Again, let's say now after we append to the list, now we can do what? Now we'll have what? Like student 1, student 2, like that. So when we have an object like this, now we can do what? We can count how many are they. We can loop and then count. So let's leave now this one as an empty list. Then we will append each time we will add, we will append to this list. So let's now create a class method. At the top here, we can create a class method. So now for us to create a class method, we have said we start with what? We start with what when we are creating a class method? Please, someone to answer so that I see if you are with me. You start with what? How do you know if a class? How do you know? Hello? Are you talking? How do you know? Are you guys there? Hello?
Yeah.
Someone to talk. So I want to create another class method. So we said, how do you know that this is a class method, or when? How do you start? Don't waste time. Someone to answer. Someone to answer, please. Don't waste time. Hello? Ay, ay, ay. Are you guys not hearing me? Because if no one
We
talks in Amanisha,
yes, we are with you. We
huh?
are with you. We are with
Not
you.
just some say me to like what do you know, like what do we start with when you are creating
We
a class
start
method?
self.
Huh?
Self.
Self. Are you sure? I want to create a class method. How do I start self?
We start with add. We
Class.
start with add class method.
So let's
Basically,
start with
the
a
class.
class method. So we start with class method decorator. So this decorator now will tell that this is what. So this decorator will tell that this method belongs to this class, to the class. So now we can create a method. Let's say this method will add or the register student, will add or register student. And then now we will have what? For the first default parameter, we'll have the class, meaning the current class, which is accessing this function or method. And then the next parameter we can have is student, because we want each and every time the student call this function, we want to do what? We want to add a student. So we'll have what? Student, meaning the current student or the object. So in a manager to the current object. So student, and then we can say what? The student, remember here we were having what? Empty list. Nimewambia I want every time we create an object to append it here, to add here. Again, another one like that. So the class, which was the CLS, was what? Student, not tuliona. It was containing the student. So we'll say what? Class dot all students, meaning all students is what? Is an empty list. And we have seen that one of the methods of list was what? Append. Tuliona when append ilikuwa inafanya, it was appending something, adding to the last. So we can say class dot all students, because all student was what? Was like a class attribute that was belonging to all class. So we can say class dot all students, which was this variable, class dot all students. Then we say what? Dot append, meaning add to the last position. And then every time we add what? Student, meaning the current student, this student parameter. This student itakuwa nini? Real object. Every time we create an object, we append what? To the all student variable, like that. And then we can just say every time. Remember, we also want to track. So we have started tracking from 0. So inamaanisha every time we add, we also have to account. Niki-add saya hapa student 1. Okay, I've created the first object, student 1. So immediately I add student 1, I have to do what? So the student should be 1, like that. Again, another object, student 2. What? The second object. So this one have to update 2, like that. So we want something like that. So let's now come back to our function. So for us to append, tunafanya nini? We are having the empty list. So we have said what? Append, meaning add to the last. So every time it's being added here, then we can say what for us now to increment this number, we can say what we can access this variable or this attribute. So we can say class, which is the student class dot total student, which was this. You can say plus 1, meaning class is equal to 1, meaning every time you have to. This one also we have talked about it. Was this one also we also talked about it, was an assignment operator, meaning add 1. Every time you add an object, add 1, like that, simple, and we have discussed it many times. Then for us now to make sure that this is possible, what we have to do is what? Is we call this method. Put together this method. And this method we want it to be called when? Automatically every time an object is created. So when we create an object, and remember we have said when we create an object like this, when we create object, what will happen is that this init constructor method or the danda method will be called automatically, and the self will be that object. And this init method will do what? Will initialize all these attributes. So we have to make sure in this stage we call this class method, which was register student. So we'll come here and then we can say what? Student, which is the class dot register student, meaning access that one, register student, and we pass what? The self, meaning the current object. So look, now we are not running the function from the bottom. We are just running inside here, meaning now let's say look at the process. You have created this object. So after you have created, you know that this init method will be called automatically to initialize the attribute. So self itakuwa student1 name, like that. Student1 dot name itakuwa the name that may pass, which was like for student1 ilikuwa addi 22, like that. So iki now initialize the attribute also. Here you are seeing what? Student, meaning this class student dot register student, this class method. So we have the class method, the class can access this method. So we can say the register student, and this now the class will be what? That student class. Have it together. The class will just even you can see that student. So the class is just a parameter itakuwa student. Then student will be what? Remember, look, you have called the function register student, and it was having what? 2 parameters, and you have passed what? 1 parameter, which is self. Self, it is the current object. Like what? The current object namaanisha nini? I am namaanisha student1, and I have repeated a lot of times student1. So here will be what? Register student with an argument of the current object, which is student1. So it will call this method, the class method. So class itakuwa nini? Because hapa tulisema student dot register, and student was the class. So itakuwa class will be student with capital S. So itakuwa student. So this one is passed automatically. You don't have to call, or you don't have to pass an argument for it. So again here we are having what? Another parameter, student. So this parameter now we have provided what? An argument, meaning the current object self. Kama ni student1, hapa itakuwa nini? Student1. And then here you're having what? Class. Class what was? It was what? Student class. But all students, this one, this list. So this list dot append. Dot append tuliona kitambo. It was a method that's at the last position. So dot append student. So student was what? Student1 object. So it will do what? It will add student1 to this list. So hapa itakuwa student1. As simple as that. Again, the next line, sema class. So class is what? Student, capital. The class student. But student, this one, this variable here. Then you are saying what? So you see that initially it was having what? 0. So but here you said what? The total student variable class is equal to meaning add 1 every time you add an object. So hapa itakuwa 1. So itakuwa 1, simple. So we don't want it like that, but that's the process that will happen. So again, we can now, for us to get now and see like list or the count, we can say what, we create another method which, so let's create another class method. So we can say at class method, which is this, and then we can say count student. So we can say count student, and we pass the class as the parameter, and then we can say return class dot total student, meaning this function is just returning whatever is inside, because here we have incremented and we have updated. So tunataka tuone like whatever is it's holding this, so that we track how many students tuko nazo, how many objects. Are we together? So this function or this class method will do what? Will return the total number of students. Again, we can add another class method that will list, so that we see all the objects, that will list all the objects. So we can say at class method, and then we can say list all students. Then we can say, let me make it space. So we can say list all students, and then we pass the class as a parameter, meaning the current class that is accessing this method. So how now can we list all the students? How can we list all the students? We have to do what? We have to loop. We have to loop through the list, so that we can see every object. Like if this list was holding student 1, student 2, student 3, like that. So we want to loop, like for every time we loop, we take this student, we take this another student, like that. So we want to see all the students, we want to list them one by one. So we can say we are having this list method, so we can say inside this method for student. So this for student for loop we have discussed a long time, we don't have to repeat again. This student now is just a variable that will hold what? Every time it loop, it will hold a student or an object of the class. Every time it loop inachukua an object, so the variable will hold what? Will not hold a permanent value, so it will change temporarily. So we can say for student, we loop through this list, here, which is will contain all the classes. So we can say for student in class dot all student. So class dot all student was holding what? Class inamaanisha nini? CLS to say that it means this class, the current class. Remember, the class ndio it access that method, so itakuwa student dot that class. So inamaanisha student dot all student. So student dot all student will have what? This list. We have started from empty, but we'll see that every time we create an object, it will add into this list. So what we want to look through is this list that is appears here. So we'll do what? We are inside here. So we say for now, every time a student in the current in all student list, we can say what? We can print their name, so that we see. So we can say print student dot name, or we can format. Let's format, and we say student, since a variable, to say student dot name, like that. So inamaanisha this class method now will be called by what? By the class student. So when the class student ikisema student dot list, it will not provide what? An argument. It only have this parameter, na class itakuwa that specific student. So again, we loop for each time we loop through this list, we'll see what we can access everything or every object inside the list. And then here we are just doing what we are showing in the console that specific object dot name. So we'll see that specific name and its name. So let's see how we can access this method. So let's see how we can access these methods. This was the first method that they've created. So this one was just appending or registering new student, and this one was just counting, meaning it will return whatever is inside this variable, and that one was just listing. So how can we now see what they are all doing? So let's see now. Let's say count. Let's call this method which is a class method. So if a method is a class method, it means it can be accessed by this class, which is a student. Also, it can be accessed by object, but now we are targeting only the classes. So we can say, let's say here, we can say print and student, which was the class, but it was count. Was it count? It was count students. So we can say student dot count student dot count student, and we call that method. So this class which is student is accessing what? This count student method. So it will call this class method which appears here, and its work is doing what? Okay, it's having a parameter class, meaning class that student dot count. So who is calling this countless method? This class, which is the student. So in Amanisha, when it calls this method here, this class parameter will be what? Itakuwa student. So inamaanisha itakuwa student like this. So itakuwa the method. So that's just a parameter. It will be replaced automatically. Like it's just similar to the self how it works. So it's saying what? Return student, not total student. Total student was just a class attribute. So it's just saying this student, not total student. So here we are having 0. But tumefanya process ingine. We have said every time we create an object like this, student 2, or an object like this, student 1, append to what? To the all student list, and also increment what? This count. So you might expect to see the 0, but if everything works correctly, you will not see. So you will see what? Every object, like say you gonna one object, another object. So you will see what? 2 objects when you call the count student method. Let me comment this once so that we see only the result that we intend to see. Okay, let's now run our code and see what we expect. Now you see we are seeing the result. So you see it's printing what? 2. Why? Because we are having what? 2 objects. So if we create another object, it will be automatically be 3. How? Because this class method, this class which is student, it has access what? This count student methods, and it was doing what? It was returning this student which is appearing here. But you're expecting what? 0. But you see what? Why? Because look at the init constructor. It said what? Every time. Look, let's see the process. Let me repeat again. So this time you have created the object. Mesema, okay, student 1, an actual object is equal to student class. You have provided this as the values or the real attribute. So it does what? Immediately you create like that. Mesema, the init method, which is a special method, will be called automatically to initialize the attribute. And the self itakuwa student 1. Tumeona at the bottom, which was the current object. Na name, create everything will be passed. But look here, we have added what? A new line, meaning student, which is the class, dot register student. So register student, it's where it's near this method. And you see at the top of it is a class method, meaning it can be accessed by the class. So you see student dot register student, meaning we are calling this class method, and we have what? We have the self as the argument. So every time you create an object, this init method has been called. So also this process is happening, meaning register student will be called, and the self, which is the current object, which will be like for now is student1, will be provided as what? As the argument. So tutakuja hapa register student, class itakuwa nini? Class will be this one, student. So student will be the class, followed by what? Student, another parameter. But here you have password self. Now self tumesema the current object, so itakuwa student. So this student will be what? Student1, the object that we have created at the bottom, this one, that was, we were discussing about it. So you see, now after you have provided those arguments, now again class, it was what? Student, not all students. So class, which is this student, all student, now it's only an empty list. And we have seen that since a list was belonging to a class list and it was having methods and attributes, we have seen one of the methods when we are learning the list was append, meaning it was, we have seen it was adding something to the end of the list. So you see class dot all the students, the empty list that we have seen at the top, dot append, meaning at the end and at the end. And the, inside the method we are passing the argument as what? Student. My student was what? Student1, the actual object. So the list itakuwa nini? Like student1, like that. So the next line it is doing what? Class dot total student. So class is the student dot total student, which is the attribute. Now initially it was 0. So you are saying what? Class is equal to 1, meaning add 1 every time we append an object, add 1, meaning increment the value by 1. So itakuwa 1. Again, since this second line it run, which is student2. So student2 again another object. Okay, the init method constructor will be called. It will initialize all of these attributes, and then the same process, the next line, student dot register student. The register student method will be called, and this will be the self will be passed as what? As the argument, which will be the student2, which is the current object. So register student, then the class will be student class. Student will be what? Student2. So class dot all students. So class dot all students, the lists. Okay, now we have what? Student1. It's no longer empty. So you see, dot append, meaning to the last. So this student will become what? Student2. Remember, follow along. So student will be replaced by what? The current object, which is student2. So here itakuwa nini? It has up to the end. So comma itakuwa student2. So this you are just visualizing, but it's not just the actual code. And but I'm just showing you what's happening behind the scenes. So this is what's happening behind the scenes. So again, the next line nasema class, which is the student dot student. So tume add what? Student2. Na hapa ilikuwa 1. So tumesema plus is equal to 1, meaning increment the value by 1. So itakuwa 2. So you see the process isha. So here we are just doing what? We are calling the count student and method. So it will call the class, which is the student dot count student. It will call the count student method, then class itakuwa student class, which is the student. We are just returning the total student. So student dot total student, and we will get what? 2. So that's the reason why you are seeing 2. That is the whole process. I have explained it like that. So let me go back, and so that was just the behind the scenes I was just showing you. So that is how it's happening. So inamaanisha if we create another object, so let me create another object, students 3, 7, student 3, and we pass what? Samata, and then we say 22, then we say hey, like that. So now again, look, what are you expecting? Will you expect 2 or 3? So every time the same process. Again, it create here, so it go to the other line. Again, itakuwa nini? So we can see what dot count student tukisema, we can count how many objects you have. So if you run the code, you'll see what it has changed to 3. So now this class method is working correctly, meaning it's showing us how many instances or objects we have a class we have inside the class. Now let's call again also this class method, list all students, and we see how what it's doing. So for us to access, you can do what? You can say print student class not list all the students. It was this one, list all students. So you will look at the list all student. It's not having, it's only having one parameter, and this parameter you don't have to manually pass it. It will be called automatically. So class itakuwa the student. So you are just looping now. You are using the full loop to iterate through the student and print each student name. So you're saying for student in class.all student list that's at the top, you print what? Each time student variable itakuwa nini? It will contain the current of the object. So student object dot name. So we'll see what? Each student name. So let's run and we see the result. If we have printed the, okay. Yes, we are seeing at the top. We are seeing, okay. So let us use so that we don't see none and use the return, because at the bottom we have used what? We have used the print, so it will repeat, it will be a repetition. So let me run again, and then for us to see clearly, let me put this one at the bottom so that we see the result clearly. So list all student dot list all students. Okay, let me go back to the list all students. Okay, list all students. Okay, we are only seeing Abdi. Okay, let's see what we have changed. Okay. And then just let's let me remove this page. Okay, I wanted it to show it like that because it's how the print and return it works. So okay, I wanted it like to be like that. So you see, every time we list, now it's the list student, which is a class method, is showing us what? Every time it loops through the all student list and it show what? Each student name. So you see the first time, the first object name, which is Abdi, the second time, the second object Halima, the third time, the third object, student name Samata, like that. So you see that that's how now a class can access methods. So know that a class, this method belongs to a class by using what? The class method decorator. So now you can differentiate that this, and uh, sometimes even you can create a class with a class method, and the instance or the object can still use it. So the class methods can be accessed by what? By both the student class and also the object. But the object or the instance method can only be accessed by what? By object. Like even the same belongs um, this one also belongs the same to the class attributes. So the class attribute, as you see, like this, all student, all of the university, or the total, all can be accessed by the class, and also the objects like student one, student two, student three. Also the methods. The methods I to make create mainly the main lesson, the main thing require to see how the classes can access. But remember also instance can access. But the methods like this, which now it doesn't have the class method, can only be accessed by what? By the object. So that's how now the class methods works. So you use the class dot that method. That is what now the main thing that we wanted to learn today.